Hello to all my Inner Circle companions and Battle Line Outriders. This is Nicky D from Signals from the Frontline, and I am bringing you today a special episode of Signals from the Frontline. This is our Codex Cliff Notes for Codex Supplement Dark Angels. This is the Codex to start for Dark Angels if you are a fan of the First Legion and you are playing 40k 10th edition. Previously, like all others, they have been running on their index, but with the Deathwing Assault box that is now available for pre-order on today, January 20th, if you are watching this video live, and that's January 20th, 2024. Not only will you be able to receive new models, including those Terminators, the Deathwing Terminators, Deathwing Knights, Inner Circle Companions, not only, and then Belial, of course, the Terminator captain. Not only will you be able to get all those, but that is your first shot at getting Codex Dark Angels. So again, that is available for pre-order Saturday, January 20th, 2024. Of course, you can order that from Frontline Gaming, and you can see the URL on the screen here, or you can go to frontlinegaming.org slash question mark reference equals signals to order this and any and all products. You may want to pick up more than just this box if you are a Dark Angels fan. Now, one thing I will note for us here as we get started, and this Codex Glyph Notes, it is not a fully comprehensive view of this codex. This is really meant to be a 15, maybe 20-minute version of what you need to know from the codex and what are the highlights. What do myself and Seth, our competitive correspondent, and Seth's not here, but we've gotten some thoughts shared. But what do we think are the parts that you may be seeing from this codex and what do you need to be aware of? With that being said, there are some of the Frontline Gaming affiliates that will have full reviews of the codex. We recommend checking them out when they become available. Notably, that includes Vanguard Tactics, Stephen Box, Dave Callmel, all those guys there. They should be having a podcast and some bat reps, and then Tabletop Titans as well should have some more information and bat reps to check out. So go there to check out more information. But for now, we're going to get back to our show and covering the Codex Supplement Dark Angel. So first, what is in this Codex Supplement? Notably, a lot of people reference that there was that supplement term, not just full Codex. With the Codex Supplement, this does include 3 detachments. One of them is the returning detachment, the Unforgiven task force from the index. This does also include a detachment that is themed for Deathwing and a detachment that is themed for Ravenwing. This does also include some updated rules for several units because they're getting new models and new sculpts. This already includes those that I mentioned that will be available in the box set. Asmodai not in the box set, but Asmodai, Belial, Deathwing Terminators, Deathwing Knights, and Inner Circle Companions. There are also some notable rule changes for some of the models that were going from Index to Codex or Codex Supplement. I'm not going to cover all of them, but a few of them here I will just call out. Lionel Johnson, the Primarch, the Regal Primarch of the Dark Angels, he does have a couple of changes. First, the sweep attacks with his sword go from damage 2 now to just damage 1, and then his Emperor's Shield ability no longer provides a -1 to the wound roll. So those parts there, if you're a Dark Angels fan and you want to run Lionel Johnson, you still can. He's not going to have quite the hitting power or the staying power as he did previously with the Index. Asmodai, he is now Asmodai is and has been the Interrogator Chaplain for the Dark Angels. He is now upgraded to a Primaris model here, so he does get an improved bolt pistol with improved AP and range, and now his Crosium and his Power Sword attack have now been fused into one. However, they do come with a sweep versus strike profile, so each time he activates in the fight phase, you'll be able to choose one of those. The sweep attack is going to have more attacks at damage 1, the strike, less attacks, damage 2. So pick your poison that's there. Asmodai is still strong as a character, gives you a little bit more flexibility and an improved pistol. And then finally, Inner Circle Companions, they are new. We'll cover them later. The other unit that is going to be changed or updated here slightly, the Ravenwing Command Squad. This squad can now be attached to Outriders, and we'll talk a little bit later about what exactly that means. And then the champion in that unit now counts as a character, so it can be given enhancements that'll be particularly important in the Ravenwing themed detachment. So with that, we're going to jump in now for things that haven't changed, actually. So first, what hasn't changed? The units that are in Codex Space Marines, you can use those. Nothing also nothing prevents you from using detachments in Codex Space Marines. Faction rule, still Space Marines Oath of Moment. In your command phase, you pick one enemy unit, and your entire army that has Adeptus Astartes as the keyword gets to reroll hits against that target. And then finally, the other key rule that gets covered here, you cannot take units from other Space Marine chapters. So while you can take general or generic units, like say a Vanguard Vet Squad, you cannot take Marneus Calgar, who has that Ultramarines keyword on his datasheet. Now, there are a few things that are missing, and that does include the Deathwing Command Squad. They're no longer in this codex. The Deathwing Strike Master as a character also no longer available, and then the Ravenwing Talon Master also not included. So with the Deathwing units, they got new kits. Those new kits have very specific choices for how they're going to be modeled and weapon options. So Deathwing Command Squad and Strike Master, both no longer options. Ravenwing Talon Master going away. Not a huge surprise because we already know that the speeder, that old version of the Space Marine speeder, has gone away. So them losing that character there, not a big surprise. Other things here that I will note, and that this hasn't changed, I don't believe, from the index, is that if you are playing a Dark Angels army, mounted units and vehicles with the flag keyword gain the Ravenwing keyword. So that will be for units and, of course, characters. And then there are going to be a number of units that gain the Deathwing keyword in the detachments. That includes Terminator models, Blade Guard models, Stern Guard, Vanguard veterans with jump packs, the Land Raider variants, the Repulsor variants, and then Dreadnoughts. So those are really some key things there to think about when you are building your army, and especially how those keywords may interact with the detachments that you're choosing. So with that being said, let's jump into those detachments. And the first one, it's the same one that we had from the index. That is Unforgiven Task Force. This is your classic Dark Angels detachment. And really, we've seen now after a few codexes that the index detachment is really supposed to be your bread and butter, your classic feel of how the army is supposed to play. So Dark Angels are really supposed to be strong and resolute in combat. This plays out in the detachment role where units that are battle shock, instead of counting as having OC0, they count as OC1. There's also a variety of either enhancements or stratagems where if the unit is battle shocked, that penalty may actually be mitigated, or the unit or model may actually get a buff. Now, there are just a few changes with this detachment. On the enhancement side, the Heavenfall Blade now has been renamed as Weapons of the First Legion. Rule unchanged, just a change in name. And then Stratagem, Unbreakable Lines. This is now a 2 command point stratagem, so it's going up in cost just a little bit. And then what it is now applying is that it is now a -1 to the wound roll for an enemy's attacks. So that's instead of -1 damage. So that is also a slight change from what we saw with the index. But that detachment, that's old news. I know what you're here for, everybody. You're here for the new, spicy, juicy detachment. So let's jump in with the first company, and that is the Deathwing. So this is the Inner Circle Task Force. This is your Deathwing themed detachment. Its detachment roll in your command phase, you're picking an objective, and your Deathwing infantry get +1 to wound rolls for attacks against units on that objective. So pretty strong, but there's only going to be certain units that you can use to get that bonus. That's how you're probably going to be building your army anyways, so that's not the worst thing in the world, right? All right, now as it goes for your enhancements, all the enhancements in this detachment are for Deathwing models only. So this is mostly going to be really just your Terminators. There may be a couple of exceptions for some other characters, but mostly I would expect just Terminators. My favorite enhancement, Singular Will. This gives the bearer and his unit +3 inches to their pile in and consolidate. So this is going to be absolutely, especially when you're talking Deathwing models, which are mostly going to be Terminators. They're a little slow, but getting that +3 inches so you can pile in and consolidate up to 6 inches, that gives you almost a foot of extra movement if you need it to either get into the enemy unit to get all of those attacks or to get on an objective. We know that the movement is really the most important characteristic in all of Warhammer 40k, and this really takes advantage of that. I expect that if you see this detachment, you're basically going to see this enhancement in it every single time. The other enhancement that you might see is Deathwing Assault. What this enhancement allows you to do, it allows the bearer's unit to arrive from deep strike in your keyword, your first, second, or third movement phase. So no, you cannot use this to rapid ingress in your opponent's first turn, but still being able to have a Terminator unit deep strike in turn 1 of the game and then be able to move around the board is pretty powerful. I like it. I think we'll see it. I think we'll see that used a fair bit. It doesn't necessarily have the same power because, again, Terminators are a little bit slower, and you have to come in during your, or you have the option of coming in during your first. So I think some people play around with it, but singular will, again, to me, is going to be the enhancement that you see. Finally, stratagems, a couple here that I'm going to call out. Martial Mastery, 1 command point. It's you get to reroll wound rolls of 1, or if you're attacking a unit that is on your chosen objective, you're rerolling all wound rolls. Couple that with the +1 to wound, very powerful stratagem. It's going to be somewhat limited in its scope, or where you get the maximum benefit, but very strong. The other one that I'll point out here, Duty Unto Death. This is 1 command point for a Deathwing unit, and when a model dies, they can fight on a 4+. I generally prefer this stratagem. We've seen this in some other index or codexes. I generally prefer, there's 2 variants. One that is this version, 1 command point, and it fights on a 4+, or another version that on 2 command points, they just get to fight. I prefer when you don't have to leave it to chance, but still, Deathwing Terminator models, they're going to be pretty punchy, or they're meant to be pretty punchy anyways. So 1 command point on a 4+, you know you're going to be getting some of your attacks. Pretty spicy in my mind. The other detachment that I want to make sure that we are covering is the Company of Hunters. Now, again, this is going to be your Raven Wing, your second company detachment. This is going to be all about bikes, all about speeders, and chasing the fallen from a narrative point of view. If I was to be a Dark Angels player, and I'm not, but if I was, this is the army that I would build. You're going to want to go fast, you're going to want to go faster, and you're going to want to try to hunt down your enemy. I think this sounds like a lot of fun. So the Raven Wings, or the Company of Hunters detachment role, units can shoot after advancing or falling back. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. This gives you a lot of mobility and a lot of agency to not only use your weapons to your greatest advantage, but also to score secondaries. The other key thing about this detachment that I particularly like, or that I find to be, may not be good, but thematic, is that Outriders. That's right, Space Marine Outriders. Those were the Primaris bikers. In this detachment, they become battle lines, so you can include up to 6 units of Space Marine Outriders, should you choose. Now, for this detachment, we'll jump into the enhancements. All of the enhancements are for Ravenwing models only. What this does mean, I'll point this out. This is going to mean that it's going to be mounted units can get the enhancements. Based on my look through, and I could be wrong, I could be missing something, but mounted units or mounted heroes for Codex Space Marines, and then Dark Angels, that's going to be your Primaris, your Primaris Chaplain on bike, and the Ravenwing Command Squad Champion. So it doesn't give you a lot of options, but I will call it, it does actually give you more options for mounted characters than, say, the Stormlance detachment did, which we covered in the Codex Space Marines Cliff Notes. So a couple enhancements that I like, and there are a few. Mounted Strategist. This allows the unit to charge after advancing or falling back. So you've got a unit that, because of the detachment rule, they can shoot after advancing or falling back. Great start. If they can also charge after advancing or falling back, again, giving you even more agency. Only thing I wish about this is that for some of those mounted units in either Codex Space Marines or the Raven Wing Black Talons, don't really have a lot of punchiness in the combat or fight phase. I'd like to see some better weapons in the melee phase to really take advantage of this enhancement. But as it is, you probably can clear some chaff, or maybe some five-man intercessor squads, things like that, being able to charge. The other enhancement that I like probably more, Recon Hunter. This gives the bearer and their unit Scout 9 inches rule. So whether it's your Black Talons or whether it's your Outriders, they're pretty big models. And then being able to scout 9 inches pregame and then move and go forward from there, especially when you can shoot after advancing, this is going to give you a really premier ability to control a flank, clear out chaff that your enemy may have, or even get onto an objective early in the game. So those are parts that I like. I think you'll see that a fair bit. Stratagems, rapid reappraisal. Raven Ring unit can go into strategic reserves. This they can't be in a unit in engagement range of an enemy unit, but again, mobility, key to the game. I think this is a stratagem where if you're playing against Company of Hunters, you're gonna see your opponent use this every single game, probably multiple times a game. And then Hunter's Trail. This can make one of your mounted units claim an objective, make it a sticky objective, so you control it even after you move off of it until your opponent controls it. So scoring objectives, scoring primary, a key part of the game. That's going to be one that's really helpful. So that's the Raven Wing, the Company of Hunters detachment. That is of the 3 detachments that you get in this Codex supplement. That's my personal favorite. I really like it a lot. You get some cool tools. But before we go, we're going to make sure to cover the new unit, the brand new unit, brand new models. This is Inner Circle Companions. So these are these are dark angels with large power swords, really protecting the characters, and hunting the fallen, for the honor, for the glory of the dark angels. These are units that come in either 3 or 6 models that you can have in this unit. Characters that can be attached to a Stern Guard squad can be attached to your inner circle companions. Really, what they do, they're focused on melee with their big swords. They have a strike attack that has lethal hits, and these are going to be at strength 6, a -1, 2 damage, or you can go with a sweep with sustained hits, and these are going to be at just 1 damage. So you've got options there, either for strike or sweep, lethal or sustain. This unit, you're going to want to have a character attached, and you're going to want to use this to hunt other characters. If a character unit is attacking you, it'll be -1 to their hit rolls against you. If you're attacking a character unit, you're getting +1 to your hit rolls. So these guys, interesting choice for the new codex. The models look gorgeous, and they're definitely thematically dark angels and definitely thematically inner circle, for what they are. I do think they may be crowded out a bit in the creativity space for what they do in the codex or the codex supplements compared to either, say, Blade Guard veterans or even just your other inner circle Deathwing Terminators, Deathwing Knights. But again, I think you're going to see these at least. I think you're going to at least see these people, see these models on the hobby table for everybody. So that covers it for this review of the Dark Angels Codex, or the Dark Angels Codex clip notes that we have here for today. Again, this is going up for in the part of the Deathwing Assault box on Saturday, January 20th, 2024. It's going to be including the new Deathwing Terminator models, Deathwing Knights, Inner Circle Companions, new Belial model, and then the Codex. Your first chance to get it here. So I would definitely recommend taking a look at it. I think Dark Angels players are really going to like the thematic element. I think some of these detachments definitely capture the feel and the narrative of this more so than really any of the other detachments have. But being able to play in the sandbox with these new detachments, with your detachments you have from Codex Space Marines as well, gives plenty of flexibility for the Dark Angels, for Lionel Johnson's Legion. And we do know that, though, that is a Legion that prides itself, or chapter that prides itself on martial excellence. So I think it's going to, after we get a few goes, we're going to see players out on the tabletop with Codex Dark Angels. But that's all that I've got for today. This is a special Signals from the Frontline report. And if you want to catch Signals from the Frontline, myself, Kicker, and Seth the Mad Doc, we cover everything wargaming news and Warhammer 40k, Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and Games Workshop products, along with just with nerd news and things that are happening in the world of nerdery. We are live every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, so we hope you join us then. That's all for now, folks. Have a good one.